Good morning. Another week is flying by as we've come through our first week of April. And my Live with Tony's Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, God, it just seems to be, gee, today is Friday. And I've got a busy day from 10 o'clock on. And I said, let me get my Live with Tony done. But I am the founder of the USA Memory Championship. And I cannot just say how delighted I have been since this article in National Geographic article appeared on their website on superpowers. And the number of people that have read that article and caught the section about myself, Anthony Dattino, being the founder of the USA Memory Championship, and Michael Dattino, who is one of our top people that teach people how do you improve your memory, and such a diversity he's got. And the writer closed the article by saying basically that we have human superpowers that very often we have not tapped or don't believe that we can access, and that we can actually live in those powers. And throughout the article, she gives different demonstrations of people doing what one may perceive as superhuman, and yet when we get to the memory portion and we talk about mental athletes, Nelson Dellis, Josh Four, Ronnie White, John Graham, Chester Santos. The list is just amazing of what these people have been able to do with their memories that they never ever thought possible. But somewhere along the way, they got this notion and this belief that maybe I could improve my memory, and maybe there were some skills that I could learn. There's some training and or education that I could partake in, and then let me just go see how I can do. And they would enter the USA Memory Championship, and many times it was often the first time they wouldn't do as well as the second and third times, but it gave them a benchmark. It gave them a platform from which to build on. And so by the second and the third and the fourth years that they practiced and tested their own skills against a group of people that were equally of same mind, which is, let me demonstrate what my memories are capable of doing, became USA Memory Champions. And what I was saying to someone yesterday who read the article and wanted to know how they could improve their memory, and is a very successful executive and owner of his own company, and yet read the article and said, my goodness, there are things I would love to improve in my memory. And so it's this concept of there are skills, there are techniques and ways that you can improve your memory. Now, the next question becomes, I can improve my memory, so what? Well, you certainly can remember the names of people you've met that you may want to engage in on a social level when you see them a second and or third time. And clearly, remembering people's names is one of the best compliments that you can give them to their own importance and their own relevance in terms of their own life. And so, and if you're in the business world, we call that networking, right? And so networking, when you meet people at different events, or you're meeting them at different seminars, it's clear you want to remember the names of the people that you're meeting for a second and a third time in building additional social interaction, but further contact and movement and possibly a business arrangement. And so when you say, so what, there's an event that we give to the mental athletes on remembering the names and faces of people. And that's a skill that's got so much application. The people that you meet on a regular basis, possibly people that serve you in the grocery store. And boy, isn't it amazing if you can go to a grocery store. I make a practice of doing this and remembering the names of maybe 3 to 5 people. You don't have to remember the names of every worker that you see in the store, but maybe it's a cashier you see, maybe somebody that's at customer service, maybe it's a manager that you might have talked to and complimented the workers of what a wonderful job they do. It doesn't matter. It's just grabbing a few people and remembering their names and something from a prior conversation is just amazing. So now what do you do with a name and a face? Well, I just said, remembering some of the elements of a prior conversation. When you meet someone, do you take the the effort to say, I'm going to remember a couple of things of that person. So that you then step aside, take a look at them, remember their name, mark their face, and then create these little mind map, little pictures in your mind of 2 or 3 things that you had in conversation that you want to remember about that person, which brings me to the next point of superpowers. The question becomes, do you first believe that you can remember and that there's something you can learn? The second thing is, do you want to? Are there things that when you're going about your day that are important to you that you want to remember? Because as you go about through your day, you're coming across so many different bits of information, so many interactions, be watching television, listening to the radio, listening to conversation, just having your own thoughts within yourself. Do you find yourself kind of pruning and thinking, well, gee, this is important. I really need to remember this. So when you talk about superpowers, as in this National Geo article, and you come to the belief that there are things that you could learn to improve, the whole principle behind that is, do you have the desire to want to do this? Meaning, it's going to take a little bit of work. It's not going to take days and days of work. It takes a little bit of work, as I tell people, 15 minutes every day to just step back and become mindful and focused on things you're trying to remember, so that when you are meeting people, or you are reading something in a paper, or you are reading something in a procedure or a policy of something you're doing at work, that you're taking the mental focus to say, this is important and I want to remember this. You know, so often we just think that our memories have to be just an automatic system, meaning I read this and I'm going to remember it. If you're reading a book, and this is one of the things I learned from Tony Buzan, when you're reading a book, if you're reading the book for the joy of a novel or a story, the story will keep some of its elements and components within your brain just because of the interest in the story, but 80% of the story is going to get flushed. If you're reading a policy or a procedure you need for a legal reason, or you need for a policy or a procedure in terms of doing work, you're going to have to take a little bit more time in taking the effort of saying, this is important for my job, this is important for my schoolwork, this is important for something I'm doing for the safety of people, or the guidance that I'm providing in leadership. And therefore, you need to take a little bit more focus, and you need to make it a little bit more of a priority. I think of that when I look at the work I've done in hospitals with doctors and nurses and people doing MRIs and x-rays and the procedures that they've got to follow. When I see somebody going to stick a needle in my arm, it's like, hey, do you know what you're doing? Do you have that procedure well defined so that when you're doing it? Recently I had one where there was a new radiologist, and you know, she was new, and I could tell she was a little bit nervous, and I asked how long she was doing this, and she said, well, this has only been a few months, and I said, well, might you need some help from a senior person? The point of the being is, do you have a way of when there's something important to you that you take some conscious actions to retain it? So my point, in the National Geographic article, they talked about superhuman powers. The superhuman powers of the people that Michael Dattino and I are meeting come from people that start with the belief, you know, I might have those superhuman powers. I may be able to improve my memory, and I may be able to improve it in terms of people I meet and social interactions that I have with groups of people and remembering names. I may have it in terms of an exam that I want to take, or a profession that I never thought I could do. And therefore, I'm going to take the belief that I'm going to learn what some of these techniques are, and I'm going to just see how it goes. There's not much to lose. We have an online course, Maximum Memory Mastery. We have one that I love, is 6 Key Factors for Long-Term Brain Health. Not loaded with lots of detailed science and they're loaded with simple, pragmatic techniques that help people to go through those online courses and start with basics. Hey, you know, start with a basic, and I call the basics, start to integrate into your brain, and 1 + 1, with a brain that has synergistic capacity, can grow thousands of new ideas, new learnings, and new abilities to create and communicate. And so what I try to encourage people to do is just start out with basics. Let's get fundamentals. Let's build a foundation. You certainly wouldn't build a building or a skyscraper by starting on the roof and trying to figure out how to work down. No, you want to make sure you got a good solid foundation and that it's sitting on some good solid rock, if you can, not on sand or a quicksand base. You want to put it on some solid foundation. That's exactly what we are doing in the training that we do. And so thankful for the National Geo article. We've had a number of people that are at least emailing, and I've been talking to over the last week, and God, it's gotten a little bit crazy. I've got several more people I want to talk to today that have emailed to let them know there's hope for everyone. And our USA Memory Championship just demonstrates that through people that have come to the event that never thought they had a good memory, but they took a chance, not to lose, and say, let me make my brain a priority. Let me make that something that's important to me, that in the new year I'm going to go read a book, or go to Barnes & Noble, or go online, find a course, come to the USA Memory Championship and just observe people that are doing what they thought was the impossible. And let me see how I can apply that to my brain and what I can do for my cognitive health and my mental capacities. And to that National Geo article, I think that has just opened up a door for people that we'll see where it goes. But it's been fun this past week responding to the emails and people that I've had the pleasure of talking to, and different possibilities. And we'll see where that takes us. But it's exciting. It's a new world of getting people to recognize there's so much more we can do with what we have up here and what we have within our own physiology than we ever thought possible. And to me, I congratulated the writer and saying, man, you hit the button right square in the middle. And it's time for the weekend. So what do we have this weekend? We have the Final Four on Saturday evening, which we'll finish up on Monday, and that's the end of college basketball. Tonight we have the women's bracket. Of course, we all know something about Caitlin Clark and UConn and Iowa going into their battle this evening. And so it's opened up a whole new world of excitement for college basketball on the women's and on the men's side as well. So we've got that to look forward to. And I guess baseball season's into its second week, and so baseball teams are going, and we have NBA finals and hockey finals. So we've got lots of excitement coming up this coming weekend. And unfortunately, there were some big storms in the northeast, and people are struggling with dealing with that. But be safe and stay out of harm's way. If the weather is bad in your area, just be smart and watch some television. Come look at a couple of my Facebook broadcasts on Live with Tony. So till the Monday, you have a good weekend, and looking forward to seeing you on Monday.